Zone of Interest is another awards contender this year. One of the movies being nominated for Best Picture. And this movie is an interesting movie. It is a horrifying movie in a sense. It is about a German family that literally lives right next door to the, what is it, I can't ever say these things, Austerwitz, one of the concentration camps during World War II. Is a German family living literally right next door. Like, literally, their backyard there is the concentration camp. They have this normal looking home, this beautiful garden in the back with a pool and everything, and then right behind it are smokestacks of where, they're putting the Jews in and burning them up alive. Not exactly a movie people would probably want to see per se, but yeah, that is what this movie is. This comes from the director, I want to say his name is Jonathan Glazer, who he did a movie back in 2013-14 that everyone loved. I absolutely hated it. It was called Under the Skin with Scarlett Johansson. And once again, he's made another movie that I just do not like this movie. Not because of what the story is per se. It's just some of the things he chooses to do. He's been nominated as Best Director. I personally don't understand that in one slight bit. I think the direction of this movie is flippin' terrible. I don't love this movie. Now, I'm going to say this. This is not a horrible movie. There are things about this movie that are effective. For me, though, this movie is just boring as all hell. You have this family that I didn't care about any of them. I just didn't think anything they were doing was interesting. And they are horrible people. The husband, I believe, is an actual real life person. He was actually running some of these camps and stuff like that. He's not a great person, and he's pretty much the main character of this movie, and he's really boring. I mean, he's just standing there talking to people the entire time, and I just don't find anything that he's doing interesting. I couldn't latch on to him as a character. Sandra Hüller is the actress who plays the wife. She's also in Anatomy of Fall, a movie which I really, really liked. This one, not so much. She gives a great performance. I will say that her character 100% knows what her husband is doing. She understands that the people in her home who are helping her, who are slaves, are Jews, and she's threatening them, saying, hey, you don't do this, I'm going to send you over the wall and we'll scatter you all over the field. So she knows. So she's not a great person either. She does give a good performance. She's definitely icy and cold when needed to be. But then she's also very, very, normal and kind. Like, her mother shows up and is giving her mother a tour of the home and stuff. And she's very normal about, hey, oh yeah, this is the backyard. And yeah, that is the wall of the concentration camp right over there. So yeah, her performance is good. I will say that. I just didn't like her character. I didn't like their kids. I just couldn't get attached to any of these characters. There was nothing for me there. And the movie is essentially just, like this, for example. This is very much what the movie is. People hanging out at their home, and you see things going on in the background. You see the smoke going up. You hear the sounds of, torture going on. You hear the gunshots. So I will say the sound is very effective. The sound is incredible. The sound is what makes it disturbing to watch. But what I'm seeing is nothing spectacular. I'm spending more time looking at the background than I am actually caring about what the story is. And I don't think that's because I'm interested, in the Holocaust or anything like that per se. It's more of just I don't care about the freaking characters. I just don't care about what's going on in the story. The story to me is very boring. if you had had a different family, maybe I maybe would have enjoyed this movie more. Um, there's also just decisions that are made throughout this movie that just I get what it's going for, but it just feels pretentious and stupid. For example, there's a lot of just blank screen. And sometimes it is effective. I will say that. There are certain scenes where it's blank screen and you hear sounds and you go, okay, that's effective. Then there's other times where it's just blank screen. And it feels like it's just transitioning. And I get what it's going for. I really do. I get what they're going for with this, but it felt like it felt like my time was deliberately being wasted. And I did not like that about this movie. There's also choices done with, what is it? I forget. Night vision, essentially, I guess you could say. If you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. I just did not see any point why we needed night vision. In particular, there's one scene where it's in night vision, then it goes to regular, and then it goes back to night vision, and then it goes back to regular. And it was just like, what was the point of that? I didn't need to see it like that. Just show me the way it would be at night. Like, I just think this movie is very pretentious, and this is a movie I bet critics are absolutely, I mean, obviously critics are loving it because it got nominated for Best Picture and stuff like that. But this is one of those movies that I think people, the normal people, are like, this is stupid as shit. Which is kind of where I'm at. I'm not going to say this movie is absolutely terrible. But it just, the most effective thing about this movie for me was towards the end, there's something that they do in a very weird part, in a sense. Something to do involving clothes and shoes and luggage that was a little bit more effective for me. But even that went on too long. There's a lot of scenes in here that just go on for too long. It's like, I get it. Stop throwing this shit in my face. I get it. And it is important stuff. I'm not going to deny, what the story is per se. The Holocaust is something that we need to be reminded of it because we are still doing horrible freaking things to each other. And we are still not accepting people. We're still not, for some reason, things like this still isn't getting, into our skull that we need to not do this kind of crap. So yeah, it's very important subject matter. I'm not going to deny it's not, but there are points in this movie where it just was beating me over the head with things. I was like, oh my God, move on. I get it. I get what you're going for. Yeah, at the end of the day, guys, this movie's just really boring. I found this movie so stinking boring. I just wanted it to end. And not because, again, of the subject matter, just because it was boring as heck. It didn't help that this theater, the auditorium I was in was kind of next to Dune Part 2. So I was hearing Dune Part 2. I knew what scene was going on. It was the freaking the worm scene where Paul is riding his first worm. I was like, God, I wish I was watching that right now because that is amazing. This is stupid and boring. Sorry, I know this is kind of one of those movies that, because of the subject matter, I hate that I'm, not liking it. But at the same time, I can acknowledge that it's important. But I just did not like this movie. I found it so pretentious, so boring. I will say the acting is good in it. But I just didn't care about anybody. I was just like, we're literally just watching people go about their day. This is dumb. Yeah, I can't really say that I recommend this one. I will say it looks beautiful. I will say the sound is fantastic. I will say the acting is great. I think the direction of this is bad, honestly. I really do. There's certain moments that I think the direction is good. Then it just really terrible moments of direction, in my opinion. Production design of this is great. You really feel like you are at this home right next to a concentration camp. yeah, that's about all I got with this one. I'm actually going to go down from what I was going to originally do. I was originally going to say about 6 out of 10. I'm going to go 5 out of 10. This is just a very movie, in my opinion. People are going to disagree with me on this one, and I think maybe some people will actually 100% agree with me on this one. I think this is going to be one of those movies that you either love it or you hate it, and yeah. So yeah, 5 out of 10 for me on this one. I also want to mention, so I saw this in a fairly full auditorium. And, you know, I work at a job where I take phone calls. There's old people that call in and say young people are the problem in the world right now. That young people are disrespectful. Well, I just want to comment on this here because... Now, I am a young person. I will admit that. I'm going to be 30 next month. So I am still considered young, you know. But here's the thing. There was an older couple in here. I would say in their 60s, 70s, somewhere in there. Talking. Non-stop. For 20 to 30 minutes of this movie. Non-stop. I shushed them a couple times. You know, just a shh. You know, nothing too rude. And they just went louder. Literally went louder. The wife was asking constant questions instead of paying attention to the movie and finding out the questions. The husband was giving a freaking history lesson. Thank God someone actually got up and said, hey, can you guys stop talking? It's really distracting. And they finally shut up. But good God, older people need to shut the fudge up about younger people being disrespectful. Because that right there is extremely disrespectful. To be in a theater and talking the entire time, that right there is the biggest disrespect you can do in a theater. To me, that's worse than cell phones. Cell phones... As long as you got the, you know, your screen light on low where it's not distracting everybody else, I don't like it, but I'm a little bit more okay with it. Talking, though, the entire time, like I'm talking right now, not okay. Should not be happening in a theater. I can understand a little bit of talking, you know, like, you know, what did she just say? What, you know, I can understand that. I'm not a complete movie snob. But good God, to be talking the entire time, to be going over history lessons during the goddamn movie. Shut the frick up. My rant on my experience at the cinema, maybe that's part of the reason why I didn't love this movie. I don't think that is really 100% the reason. I think this movie just was boring for me. I just didn't love it. So you guys, that is my Zone of Interest review. I hope you guys have yourself a great night. Don't do anything I wouldn't do. And more reviews to be coming.